We've already talked about what standard form looks like, but let's go ahead and write it out. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c. That describes your standard form. Your vertex form, we write it as y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And I'll explain what all that means. In standard form, your vertex is hk. So when you look at standard form, you can pull out the vertex right away. And it's hk, and I'll show you what that means in a little bit. The a changes the slope of the graph, how thin it is or how wide it is. Factored form, I should put an a, there might be an a there. Then x minus p and x minus q. Factored form is also called intercept form, depending on which book company you're looking at. The intercepts then are going to be p0 and q0. Remember when we factored it and we set each of those factors equal to 0 and it became the opposite? That's why. So on here, notice it's a negative p but a positive p here, negative q, positive q here. So you pull out the opposite and that's where it's going to be graphed. All right, everybody with me so far? Even if you don't understand how to use those, is everybody okay so far? You ready to figure out how to use them?
Sure.
All right. If I give you something in standard form, the way we're going to get to vertex form, we're going to start by doing that axis of symmetry. Do you guys remember the equation for the axis of symmetry when we graphed?
Isn't that negative b over 2?
Perfect, yep. And again, this is our vertex, so if I can calculate my vertex, then I'm going to start putting the values in there. So over here, and you don't have a ton of room to write, but I'm going to write the vertex over here. Remember, it's negative b over 2a. What is my b value in this first one?
8. Negative 8.
Negative 8, and we're going to have negative and then negative 8 because the formula has negative. What is my a value?
X.
It would be 1. You are to look at the x squared and you take the coefficient. What is negative times negative 8 divided by 2 equal?
Negative 4.
You're so close. There's 2 negatives.
4.
Positive 4, yeah. So x is equal to 4. How do I get my y value of that vertex? So this is my x value. How do I get the y value, Ethan?
You have to plug it in.
Plug it in, exactly. Running out of room. So we're going to do 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 15. So it's 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 15, Ethan.
Negative 1.
Negative 1, exactly.
Plus 15?
Yes. Yep, and I got that from the formula. So for this particular one, my vertex, change colors, is 4, negative 1. We need to make sure that this a value, make sure that it's not anything but 1. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment, but we need to get another point on here to be able to solve for a. So this gives us our vertex. What we can do next to get it into factored form is to factor this. So I'm going to pause there, and you're going to kind of see the relationship between the three. We're going to go ahead and factor this. How do I factor x squared minus 8x plus 15?
You're going to have to divide 15 by 3. Because you're dividing your c so that they can add together for b.
Here's I use a 3 and 5 to factor it. Yes. So when we factor this, so picture it over here, we have x minus 3 and x minus 5. Does that make sense? We just did that. You guys did great on factoring. That's all I did. I factored this and put it over here. And that's factored form. And that's done. That's easy, right? Factored is the easiest. Everybody good so far? Alright, this is where you're going to have to bounce back and forth and just stay with me. If it's x minus 3, what is my 0? 3, yeah. Because you said it equal to 0. Yeah. So we would have 3, 0, if I can jump right to that, which is where the p0 came from. What's the other one? 5, 0, yeah. So you could go ahead and graph that. There's 2 of my data points. This is where it gets a little bit lengthy, but once you do it several times, it's not that bad. For the vertex form, we are almost there. We know what our vertex is, so we know the h value and we know the k value. The only thing we don't know is a, although we do kind of know it if you're thinking ahead far enough. We're going to plug stuff into here to solve for a, and then we're going to rewrite this. This is going to get lengthy, and I almost want to give myself some more room so you guys aren't trying to read between all that. I know what I'll do.
Are these like test problems? Similar?
You need to know how to do it, but it's not going to be the heart of the test. So don't panic. You're not going to fail the test over this. Okay. No, that's still not good enough. I want you to be able to see the flow a little bit better. Okay. So if I use this right here, this is my x and this is my y. I could do the same thing using 5 and 0, but I just chose that xy value. Okay. We know what the hk is, so we're going to plug everything in to be able to solve for a. So if I'm using this, the y value is 0. I'm replacing this with 0. We're looking for a. What's my x value? 3, very good. So we're up to here. What's my h value?
4.
Yeah, and this is a minus, so you're going to be subtracting 4. Okay? Make sure I understand that switches because of the formula. The squared is in the formula. What's my k value? Very good, -1. So the h switches, the k keeps its sign in the formula.
So we're just solving for a.
Exactly, and it's not going to be that hard. What is 3 minus 4 squared? 1, exactly, because 3 minus 4 is -1. When you square it, you get a +1. So now we have 0 equals, and I can just write a, because it's just 1a. So we solve this -1.
Is that your answer?
Not yet. We got to solve for a. How do I solve for a?
Just add 1.
Add 1, right. So +1. Okay, so I plugged everything in that I know except for the a. I found that a was equal to 1, which I had a hunch because this a was 1 and this a was 1. Does that make sense? Can all go together? Now we need to actually write out the formula. And when you write out the equation of the line, we're going to write it y equals. Our a value is 1, so I'm not going to write that, so it looks nice and clean. Yeah.
I don't understand where we got 3 from.
Because this is a point on the graph.
Okay.
So we're going to do x minus 4 squared minus 1. Yes.
I don't know about that,
Sure.
I never skip this, I promise.
I trust you. Alright, so there's a lot of steps in here, but once you get the connection, I don't think it's going to be that hard. Because we've done a lot of the hard work, especially to get from standard form to factored form. And we just went through a warm-up of how to get from factored form back to standard, how to go from vertex form back to standard. So it's just keeping it all straight in your mind and knowing what you're looking at. So any questions so far? Alright, we can finish graphing over here. What's the vertex? I think I heard it. 4, -1. So I'm going to add my vertex in. And then I'm just going to sketch it. And I went off the paper. Alright, any questions so far? We good? Alright, let's keep going then. Alright, so now we have -2x squared minus 4x plus 6. Let's jump right to this factored form. How do I factor this? Or what's my first step in factoring it?
Take out.
Very good. What are you taking out? 2, and we haven't talked about before. We talked about it a little bit in the when you had 4 terms. If this is negative, take a -2 out. Or whatever the value is, take the negative out. So over here we're starting with -2x squared minus 4x plus 6. We're going to decide to take a -2 out. So we get x squared plus 2x minus 3. That's our first step.
That's just so much work.
It is a lot of work.
Boxes aren't even big enough.
Wait, on the first one, why did you do like the blue part when you already had like your points?
Your a value.
Yeah.
You can skip that part, but you won't always have the a value.
Oh, so that's only if you don't have it.
Yeah, yeah, but I want you to know how to do it. But once you have 1a, you do know. We're gonna skip some of that this time. All right, so how do I factor x squared plus 2x minus 3? 1 and 3, and which one's negative? 1, very good. So we're going to have -2, and then x minus 1, x plus 3. We can go ahead and get our roots from there to graph. What are my roots? You're really close. Don't forget to swap them. Swap the signs. Very good. The roots. 1, 0 we're graphing. We have -3, 0. So we can put it over here. My roots are my intercepts or my zeros, whatever you want to call them. All right, now are you guys ready for vertex form? Or are you still rating?
Well, we're not done.
We haven't done the vertex form yet. This one's done.
Oh. I thought I was still writing in the same box.
What?
I thought we were still on number 1.
Oh no! We're on number 2. We're doing this one now. That would be
That's
really long.
that's
Yeah,
what
I now
said.
understand why you said that now. Yeah, no, we're doing this one now.
Oh.
Thank goodness.
Were you just plotting your points in the same graph?
No, I didn't even plot any points. I was sitting there, I was busy writing the equation because I was like, this is a super long equation.
I think he didn't know where I got that at. Like I just pulled that from right there. I wondered why you said that. I mean, it is long, but.
That definitely long.
Now, how did I get my vertex before? What did I do? Vertex? Exactly. We're going to plug it into the x equals -b over 2a. All right, vertex. We're just going to do it in this box since we don't have much room. What is my b term? Perfect. What is my a term? Very good. What is -4 divided by 2 times -2? -1, very good. So x is equal to -1. How do I find my y? Plug it in. I'm going to plug it in up here. So it's going to be out of order if you're just randomly filling this in. We have -1 squared minus 4 times -1 plus 6. Tell me what you get.
I'm so glad I figured that out.
I am
when
so glad you did
because
too.
I was sitting here and I was like, man, how am I going to do this on the test? This is so many,
I mean, you're
steps.
right though, Cameron. It's not short, but I'm glad you figured out that it wasn't that long. What's my y value of my vertex? Plug it in. Eight, good. So again, this is my vertex. What's what's my A value? And the other two, what's my A value then? Yeah, both of them are -2. So when we put it into this formula here, it's still -2. So if I already gave it to you, you don't have to do all this, but sometimes you will have to do all this. It's a little bit easier when you already have -2.
I thought your y was 8.
Yeah, that's why I got it.
I'm plugging it in here, so y equals -2.
But y if you already have it, if you already have y, or is that not right?
The equation of the line, or equation of the parabola. All of these are different forms, but they're graphable.
Okay.
So this is really your HK in the formula. So we have x, and then this is always opposite, because it's minus h, now it's plus 1. K is 8, so plus 8.
Well, you should, I thought we were still on the same problem.
And then we can graph our vertex. So all of these, kind of like, remember doing y equals mx plus b? Then you also had, what's the other one? Y minus y sub 1 plus, I forget all the rest. You guys remember that slope intercept versus y equals mx plus b? It's kind of like that. It's different forms of the same equation. Very good.